Joining us is Dr. Celine Gounder, who recently was appointed to President-elect Biden's COVID-19 Advisory Board. She is an epidemiologist and infectious disease expert at the NYU Grossman School of Medicine and Bellevue Hospital right here in New York. Dr. Gounder, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be here.
You know, it's no secret millions of people have traveled this week despite those warnings from health officials to stay home. What do you expect to see in the coming days and weeks as a result?
Well, we can fully anticipate that we are going to see cases rising on top of this current surge in the next couple weeks. I'm really worried that come Christmas and New Year's, we're really going to be struggling to have people in the ICUs, finding a bed for them in the ICUs. And I think, unfortunately, you have healthcare workers who are already exhausted from months of fighting this. They themselves need a break over the holidays. And, you know, I think many of us are just really worried about what this is going to look like.
Today is Black Friday, of course, and you know that people love to shop. They love to shop online. But is that something that you're actually encouraging more people to do to avoid those crowds and the possibility of exposure to COVID-19?
Well, look, Drika, our advice on this remains the same, whether it's with respect to shopping or hanging out with family or whatever it is. You need to be masking. You need to be social distancing. So remaining 6 feet apart from other people who are not inside your household bubble, trying to be in the best ventilated spaces possible if you are around other people. So that means ideally outdoors, or if not outdoors, with doors and windows open quite wide. So going to a mall and shopping in crowds is really not on the list of things that would be safe right now.
Is that something, though, that the Biden administration would be advising people to stay home and shop online, knowing how many people generally go out during this time?
I think our advice would be to stay away from crowds, whether that's for shopping or for rallies or for music concerts, whatever it is. You know, really, I think staying away from crowds is really sound advice right now.
Speaking of which, you know, the Supreme Court recently blocked COVID-19 limits on churches. Do you think that that is a good thing, a bad thing? Obviously, you all are maintaining that people need to stay home and not in crowds, but this allows people to gather without those restrictions in New York.
Well, look, I'm not a lawyer. I can only speak to the public health implications of this. I do think we have seen that churches, synagogues, and other places of worship have been sites of transmission. There are ways to practice safely, to practice your religion safely. Some houses of worship have moved their services online. Others have done so outside. So, you know, I don't think it should have to be either your religion and your religious freedom versus public health. I think there are ways we can do both.
You also say you don't like the word lockdown, but in cases, if cases rather, continue to rise, how would you advise President-elect Biden get things under control?
Yeah, I think we've said repeatedly, and as has the president-elect and the vice president-elect, that we are not entertaining another lockdown or shutdown. The way I think about this is in the spring we had a on and off light switch, which was the shutdown lockdown approach. And now that we understand the transmission better, that we understand that this is predominantly a droplet and aerosol spread virus, respiratory virus, not so much contact. And we also have a better understanding of who transmits and where, we can be a lot more specific in our restrictions. So we've moved from that on and off light switch to a dimmer switch where we can dial up and dial down restrictions. We can do so in a geographically targeted way. And so we can restrict, yes, but in a way that's less burdensome on the average person.
Dr. Celine Gounder, thank you so much for joining us. Happy holidays.
You too.